So I can't say that I'm terribly surprised, but the original version of this video that had samples in it got blocked for copyright. So this is a re-upload taking out all of the samples of the music. What's up guys, this is JP. I just finished recording part 4 of the 311 Ranked series. If you haven't checked that out, you can if you want. What I'm doing is reviewing their albums in the order that I would rank them based on quality. But that's not what this is about. But before we get into this, I'm pretty well aware that there are some people who are going to take exception with me reviewing a leaked album. Well, fuck you. Click away, watch something else. I still bought the album. So listening to it a little bit early, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. And also, if you check this tweet from Peanut didn't really seem to care much when people listen to the stereolithically. So I'm going to be honest with you, I'm always open to having conversations about different opinions, but if all you're going to do is whine that I'm reviewing this album, then take it somewhere else, because I really don't care that you don't like it. So this should go without saying, if you don't want this album spoiled, I'll give you a couple of seconds to go click something else. Alright, track number 1, they're going to be starting with Crossfire, which was the 3rd song that they released on this album. You might remember this one because there was some controversy. I have a video about that if you want to check it out, but honestly at this point it doesn't matter anymore. They made up, everything seems to be cool. And I also reviewed the track, so I won't spend that much time on it here. I think despite the controversy, it's a pretty cool song. It does leave a weird taste in my mouth that there are possibly going to be ghostwriters used on this album, or maybe there were before or whatnot, because honestly, now that we have the public fiasco, there's no way to know if originally it was just going to be credited to Nick and Essay. And in the YouTube comments on the original upload of the video back then, I don't know if it's changed now, but no one else was credited except for Nick and Essay. So that does make you wonder if any of the other songs we've loved off the last few albums weren't actually written by them. But like I said, at this point it really doesn't matter. What happened happened. The sides seem to be in agreement, and I guess we'll see what happens from here. Crossfire, I'd give a 7 out of 10 now, knowing what we know. Still like the song, still not gonna skip it. The second one is Don't You Worry, which was actually the first song that they let us hear on this album. I've also reviewed this one, so I won't be spending too much time on it, but my initial review stands. I still enjoy this song. I think it's a cool use of, some of their classic elements mixed with what they've been doing on the last couple of albums. I don't think they did anything wrong with it. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Plus, anything with a Tim Mahoney guitar solo, come on, you know it's gonna be good. I would say this song is a 7.5 out of 10. Good song, not gonna skip it. Number 3 is a song called Stainless. This track is pretty cool. It uses that same build-up they've been kind of doing since Showdown on Stereolithic, and they did it a lot on Mosaic. They did it on a couple tracks here, but they actually kind of mixed it up on this one. It sounds really good in the context of this song. Now, the heavy riff in this one is really cool, and it'll really kind of remind you of Too Late. This song rocks. If I had to rate it, it would be an 8 out of 10. Definitely wouldn't want to skip this one. Number 4 is a song called Space and Time. This song is really cool, and we actually heard a snippet of this one before. This one reminds me of Champagne in the sense that this would be a great song if you were driving down the road late at night and there wasn't a lot going on around you, not a whole lot of lights, not a whole lot of buildings or whatever. It was just you and the road, and it was dark and beautiful. This would be a really good song to kind of sink back into the seat and fucking enjoy your ride. I'll give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoy it. Track number 5, Dream State. Holy shit. We actually heard the verse riff of this one in another video that they posted as an update. At first I thought the really beautiful, happy sounding vocal melody sounded a little weird over the almost metal music underneath, but it actually fits really well. It's kind of like how Days of 88 wasn't necessarily a super heavy riff, but it did have some balls to it. But then Essay was singing like this really happy, soaring melody over it, and at first it's really weird, but then you couldn't imagine anything else. You couldn't imagine them doing it any other way. This song is an 8 out of 10. I will listen to this one every single time I have the album on. Number 6 is Good Feeling. This song is the worst thing they've ever recorded in their entire career. Yes, it's worse than Waiting. Yes, it's worse than First Straw. And if you can believe it, it is worse than Till the City's on Fire. Look, I understand that the band has to try to modernize their sound. I understand that they can't stay stuck in the past and just keep doing the same thing repeatedly. I get that. I respect them for having the balls to try something new. But this isn't 311 doing a pop song. This is just a basic run-of-the-mill pop song performed by 311. And I was one of those people who was trying to stay hopeful that a live version featuring Tim and Chad would help save this song, and they posted some of it on Instagram Live when they did the Weenie Roast, and it still sounded fucking terrible. I know I'm gonna catch some for this, but Good Feeling is a 0 out of 10. I will never listen to it again. I really hope that the Feldman experiment is over with, but we'll see. The next one is called What The. I'm gonna assume they mean what the fuck. I think this song is really cool. Some of the lyrics, like I said in my review of that song, a little I love you essay, but not so sure about those. The criticism that I've read in comment sections and whatnot is that Nick sounds bored, but I think that what he's doing fits the music because, like, when he does that really flat rap singing stuff, music around him is subdued. If you listen, when his verse kicks in, everything else kind of chills out a little bit. So I think it fits. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Like I said, I like this one. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I really like the funky ass music. I like the part in the middle where it's just Peanut and Chad and a keyboard. And I like all of the little Tim solos throughout the song. Really, this is a pretty cool song. This, if 311 is going to do feel-good summer music, I think this is a perfect example of that with their current system of creating music. This one's an 8 out of 10. Wouldn't ever skip this one. Number 8 is Better Space. It's one of those songs that just starts. This one's really cool. I really like the vocal harmonies in it, but honestly, I feel like I'm going to have to listen to it more to remember more of it. I don't think it's a boring song at all, but this one seems to be the one that you would only really listen to if you were listening to the album. It doesn't seem to have anything that would pull you back into it. I would say this one is a 7 out of 10. Not a bad song by any stretch. There are some really strong elements here, but I don't think that you would ever really go out of your way to hear it. The next one is Dodging Raindrops. It's another Feldman song. Like, I know at this point a lot of people just assume that no matter what, I'm going to hate Feldman and anything that he touches. Not necessarily. I liked Perfect Mistake, and honestly, I kind of liked Places That the Mind Goes. It's when it's overtly not 311 and it's too much like all of these other f***ing pop bands, that's when I'm not a fan of the stuff that he does. This is one of those songs. It's a very corny pop song that I don't really think it has any sort of replay value. I'd give it a 4 out of 10 and would skip it every time. Number 10 is Full Ride 2. Just kidding, but it does borrow some elements from that song for sure. This one's called Rolling Through. This one starts off really cool. I love how it's Chad and Peanut, and then all of a sudden S.A. comes in, and a split second later the guitar comes in, and the song doesn't let up at all. It's a great song, and it features some of the most aggressive sounding rapping that you've heard since Music or Grassroots. I'm not kidding. Definitely, at least to me, first impressions can change, but I think this is the best song on the album. I would give this one a 9.5 out of 10. There's no sort of cheese in it at all, and the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because there is a part of it that seems to be borrowed directly from Full Ride, and even though I love that song, I don't tend to love recycling. Number 11 is Born to Live. Starts off pretty cool. I could see S.A. fucking that tambourine up when they play this song live. Starts off with a very cool little slap bass intro with the tambourine. Starts off with a cool S.A. verse. This one sounds really similar to like the modern pop rock that was going on in the mid to late 2000s. Maybe I'm just crazy, but the way the guitars and bass sound, not necessarily the notes being played, but the way that they actually sound does kind of remind me of that kind of like indie rock stuff that was blowing up in the mid to late 2000s, like OK Go, Franz Ferdinand, stuff like that. Now there are some chants towards the end of the song that are not good, and I think Nick's last verse is complete cheeseball. But as a father myself, I find myself really understanding what it was that he was saying, particularly when he says, I want to see my daughters get married, but I can't do it if I'm in a cemetery. Guys, I was on a complete path to destruction before my daughter was born. Drugs, alcohol, didn't care about holding a job, made really dumb decisions when it came to women. So really I can understand that notion. And I do, and I can appreciate the point he was making about trying to see the world through your child's eyes. Because at least for me, I stay stressed out a lot. You know, I'm a single dad, don't get any sort of like assistance with anything. Not complaining. I'm satisfied with life. I'm just saying. So I can understand wanting to sit back a little bit and see the world from the eyes of a child who has no idea what any of that is like. And I definitely do think this is the second best Feldman track behind Perfect Mistake. I'd give this one a 7 out of 10 and probably won't skip it when I listen to the album. Number 12 is called Charge It Up. This one's really cool. It starts off briefly with that mind spin kind of intro or applied science where it's like an echo of the vocals and then boom, it just like starts kicking your ass. Love that. Vocals on this one, they're tight. All of the instruments sound really good. And at the end of the song, they do this really cool jam with an odd time signature, which, as musically weird as 311 is, they've kind of always stuck to 4/4 with a very few exceptions in the entire catalog. So I like the fact that they're broadening that and they're willing to do more strange time signatures, doing weird things that they really haven't done up to this point. The ending track is called Lucid Dreaming or Lucid Dreams. I don't like this track at all. It definitely tries way too hard to be something that 311 is not. If you need any proof of that, just listen to the verse. Not necessarily what he's saying, but how he says it and the effects on his voice. The song is a 1 out of 10 and I'll never listen to it again. So overall, my thoughts on Voyager, I love some of it and some of it I'll never listen to again. But really, that's kind of how a lot of the albums have been, is that there are always going to be songs that you skip. Like I said in one of my previous videos, 311 probably doesn't even like every single song that they've ever come out with. Why do you think there are certain albums that don't get played live hardly at all? But I think this is a pretty solid album, and given good feeling and just the fact that they were working with Feldman overall, I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I actually did enjoy this. The pacing of the album is a little bit all over the place. I mean, I thought Mosaic was a little weird, but Mosaic did a better job of balancing the core 311 stuff, aka Scotch produced it, with the more modern poppy stuff, aka Feldman produced it. This album doesn't really come together that well. There's not a lot of cohesion here. But in the modern age, where you can make your own playlist and listen to something in whatever order you want, that doesn't matter so much. I guess my overall takeaway, I would give this album a C. Now that could change with time. This is an initial thing. I just downloaded the album at like 8 o'clock this morning. I've listened to it 5 times all the way through now. Driving to work, coming from work, and right before I shot this video. This is not a bad album by any means, but I definitely don't think it's better than Stereolithic or Mosaic. But once again, Chad Sexton saves the day. The Chad and Scotch tracks on this album, absolutely incredible. And before anyone asks, unfortunately, I can't give you a link to the leak, and I really hope I don't get a strike for making this video. But anyway, thanks for watching.